Good morning, everybody. First, this material has been presented in group, but for the final test, I will present by myself. My name is Budiman Pratama Arif, and I'm going to show you about preparing presentation. And most of people or presenter failed their presentation. Do you know, guys, why? It's because they don't know the strategy, and I'm here to offer you the solution. I'm going to show you seven steps to train your audience. For the first is objective. But after you listen carefully while I'm talking, I'm sure that you will have the takeaway key for your professional presentation. And talk about objective. Imagine you have a presentation to do, maybe something you've decided you need to do yourself, or your lecturer or a colleague is asked you to present it. And where do you start? Well, for many people, it's starting with the content, and then they start getting some slides, some information, and then they start to structure. But this can be a problem. The certain things they need to do before you really get to the content. Otherwise, how do you know you've got the right content? So a good place to start is by thinking about what is your objective in giving the presentation. What is the end point that you want to reach? And that can be a number of reasons for giving a presentation. Often there will be several of them combined. So the first thing you might be want to do is to inform, educate, to give people an update on the situation. So maybe you are managing a project and you want to tell them where you are, and there are many reasons for giving a presentation or talk, but never lose right of your objective as determined when you will ask and acceptable the invitation. And talk about objective, there are 3 points about objective. For the first is strategy, the second is action, and the last point is about success. And you should ask yourself, and objective is find a way to discover what makes you passionate in those subjects you speak about, and why, what, how, and what's next. It means why you have to explain about your presentation, and what will you do when your presentation, and how you bring your audience as make something interesting to you, and what's next you can do when your audience not interest to you. And next is thing you might want to do is to inform, to educate, to give people an update on the situation. It's because if you don't care about what we have to say, why should the audience care? And find a way to discover what makes you passionate in the object and the subjects you speak about. And next step is about the audience. Before preparing material for a presentation, it is worth considering your prospective audience. And audience is the most important in presentation, because how can you do a presentation without audience, and who want to listen? And so here's the strategy. First is, what do I want my audience to know? It means you have to know what audience want when your presentation. And next is what their interest. How many people? Maybe I think means how many people with, or your audience when your preparation. And and how many people attend your presentation, and are you there to inform, to teach, or stimulate, or provoke? And next is how can you do for them? It means like what can you do for them? And next is, do they know something about your subject already, or will it be totally new to them? Okay, next, let's talk about the avenue. Okay, next is talk about avenue. It's important to have as much progress information as possible about the place where you are going to speak. Ideally, try to arrange to see the venue before the speaking, even as it can be of great benefit to be familiar with the surroundings. It doesn't much to control a fear. If you can imagine the place where while you are preparing your talk, and the ability of equipment is the size of the room and the availability of parking facilities, so you do not have long walk carrying any equipment you might need to take. And for visual aids, most of people use PowerPoint and Crazy for present something. And next is also other equipment. And next about time and length. Often there will be no flexibility in the time of day that a presentation is made. If you do have a choice of when to give your presentation, consider the following points about the time. If you present, will it be 15 minutes? Will it be 1 hour or 5 hours? What you can do? What can you do for make your audience feel still interested to you? If you present about 5 hours, and why afternoon? I give codes wrong. So early afternoon is not ideal time to make presentations, since after lunch people often feel sleepy and lethargic. Afternoon is a good time where at the end of the afternoon people may start to worry about getting home, the traffic, or collecting children from school. And always find out how long you have to talk and check if include or excludes time for questions. And it's important to remember the people find it difficult to maintain concentration for long periods of time, and this is a good reason for making the presentation point well structured and interesting. What will the audience do after you finish speaking for 5 minutes or for an hour? What their call or action? Are they going to think about something? Are they going to take action? Are they going to email you back? and are they going to buy your product? And the last slide is talk about structure and notes. And a good organization, a good organized presentation with a clear structure make the presentation look more effective and efficient. Also make the audience easy to follow. Easy to follow. Easy to follow. One of the biggest mistake people make when they start their presentation is showing nervous, like me. Like me. Here's the key. It's not whether you're nervous. It's whether you show it. The first thing you need to do is stand confident. Stand confident, and don't move, don't pace, and keep your hands at your slides like this. There are three part for structure and for presentation. First is beginning. Seems like short introduction, like you introduction your name, like my name is Budiman Pratama Arif, and welcome to the audience. For example, good morning everybody. And second is in the middle presentation, you have the body of presentation, like body language, and for the end for your presentation, maybe a short conclusion, because conclusion is very important for presentation. And it's look like this. You know how some people have this problem, and well, I offer this solution. The solution you offer is how you help people. For me, it was, you know, how some people have a fear of public speaking and have hard time, and how you can remember anything you want to say, and where can you get a clue for how you can remember anything you want to say. I think you can use a note. But you just write the point. Don't write people. Don't write people, because it's not good for your presentation. And for the next slide is talk about method and content. And there are a point about method and content. For the first is outline your presentation, script your presentation, type in body tone and speech, and deliver your hook. It seems my hook for presentation might look something like this. I'm going to show you how you captivate your audience within the first 5 minutes of your presentation. When you do this, you have to get your audience to feel something like feel more happy, more successful, or more free. And next is, can you use humor, and if so, what would be considered suitable? And introduce your agenda, like don't read the slide, because they can read. And last topic about rehearsal. And as we know, practice makes perfect. And say the presentation and ask yourself, and just like practice more and more, or like or do a rehearsal or take notes, just like professional do. And this is for point to rehearsal your presentation. And for first is this will have the following benefits. And the last is you will identify weakness in your presentation. And I think that's all for me. Thank you very much for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.